Imagine a place where life is easy. You want for nothing and can afford to live the life of luxury. Imagine having that status. You're rich, you have a nice house, and a family with a great career that will soar you to the highest of heights. Well, this lesson isn't about that. This lesson is about everyone else. Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back to Macabre'Gorium Labs presents School of Boredom, a showcase of things likely forgotten. My name is Bats, and I'm back with today's episode, Lesson 212, The Oblongs. It came from Creepy Susie.
Oblongs, oblongs, down in the valley where a chemical spill.
The Oblongs was based on the book Creepy Susie and 13 Other Tragic Tales for Troubled Children. It was written by Angus Oblong in 1999. The 13 stories in the book include The Debbies, Stupid Betsy, Waldo and Bean, Little Scooter, Happy 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 Sammy, Milo's Disorder, Creepy Susie, Emily Amputee, Narcoleptic Scotty, Sibling Rivalry, Rosie's Crazy Mother, Jenny, 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 and Babette, the Siamese Quadruplets, Dick and Muffy, and Mary Had a Little Chainsaw. Many of these stories went on to inspire the episodes for the Oblongs, such as The Debbies, Milo's Disorder, and Creepy Susie. I will of course be doing a spotlight on both Angus Oblong and the Creepy Susie book later on down the line. But for now, Angus Oblong was born on August 28, 1976 and is an illustrator, author, and creator. He also has his own website, which you can find at angusoblong.com if you want to see his other books. But again, today's lesson isn't about the books, it's about the television series. And it was created by Angus Oblong and Jace Richdale. In case you didn't know, Jace Richdale is a producer and writer that has also worked on The Simpsons and the Showtime show, Dexter. But back to the Oblongs TV series. It was produced by Film Roman, Oblong Productions, Jobsite Productions, and Mohawk Productions in association with Warner Brothers Television, and each episode had a runtime of 22 minutes with a total of 13 episodes. This animated series came with a unique theme song that was written and performed by the band They Might Be Giants. We're not going to talk too much about them here unless enough of you suggest that you want a video based on them. You can leave me a comment below if you do. So originally, there were 3 networks that wanted to win the rights to turn Angus's book characters into a series. Fox, the WB, and ABC actually had a bidding war, with the WB eventually winning and premiering the show on April 1st, 2001. But now let's get into the part you all want to see. Let's go down to the valley where the chemicals spill. The premise for this show is that it focuses on the Oblong family's daily lives living in the valley and how they deal with the richer, more privileged residents of the hill.
All my hair fell out and I started drinking.
If you're wondering where the problem begins, it's that the valley has been contaminated due to the hedonism of the people that live up on the hill, as noted in the theme song. You see, this contamination and radiation exposure is because the hill residents don't care about the lifestyles of the people in the valley. The hill residents also have no problem using the valley people to further their own plans or agendas. They do not care about the valley residents' happiness, well-being, or lives, as long as they get what they want. So now you know what the show is about, let's meet the Oblongs themselves. First up, we have Bob Oblong, voiced by Will Ferrell. He can be seen with black hair and a receding hairline, thick eyebrows, a white sleeveless shirt with a pocket, and a black tie. You see, Bob was born a torso, with no arms and legs, but he never lets that get him down. Believe it or not, he's always very optimistic, upbeat, and cheery, and does everything he needs to do by using his mouth and his torso. Bob works for the poison company Globicide, a evil corporation. Are we sensing a theme here? Next up is Mary Kay Pickles Oblong, voiced by Jean Smart. Pickles, as she is referred to by all of her friends and family, is a chain smoker and an alcoholic. Pickles once lived in the hills, but after meeting and falling in love with Bob, she moved to the valley.
When I was young, you know, I lived in the hills, but then I met your father, and we fell in love and moved down here to the valley. And you know what? All my hair fell out and I started drinking.
Living in the valley has resulted in Pickles losing her hair, but she hides this with a large beehive-esque wig while also wearing a long red dress, high heels, and purple earrings. Pickles is very happy living in the valley and often teaches Milo various life hacks and life lessons. Although some episodes show Pickles being negligent and having short-term memory loss, she always stands up for her family. This next entry's a 2-for-1. Biff and Chip Oblong. Biff and Chip are the 17-year-old first of the Oblong children. Biff is voiced by Randy Sklar, and Chip is voiced by Jason Sklar. In the show, they are conjoined twins that are attached at the waist and have 2 arms, 3 legs, and 3 butt cheeks. They can be seen wearing a plain green shirt with blue pants, belt, and gray sneakers. But they do have their differences. Biff has a blonde, military-style flat-top haircut and is the hard-working, sports-obsessed teenage archetype, while Chip has his brown hair shaved into a bowl cut and is the more laid-back of the duo. These two were a lot of fun in every episode. Next up, we have Milo Oblong. Milo Oblong was voiced by the awesome Pamela Adlon. He's a 10-year-old boy and the youngest son of the Oblongs. Milo has a lot of mental and social issues, and is on a ton of medication. Everything from Ritalin to Rogaine. He usually wears a t-shirt that says no with his own handwriting, blue shorts, and brown shoes. Milo has a single hair that sticks up out of his head and has a squint in one eye that was caused by the pollution in the valley. Although Milo does wish that he lived on the hill, as he would get a lot more advantages in life, he loves his family above all. Next up is the last and youngest of the Oblong children, Beth Oblong. Beth was voiced by Jeannie Elias and is the last of the Oblong children. She has red hair and wears a blue dress with a white collar and Mary Jane shoes with pink socks. She also has a pink warty growth growing out of her head. It looks something like a flesh pickle. I know, that's getting memed. This growth was a result of eating meat that contained bovine growth hormones. However, despite this, Beth is always trying to do things with her family, but is often left out on her own or forgotten. And despite that, Beth is still kind, quiet, and sometimes outspoken. And actually, I almost forgot, there was one more member of the Oblongs family. Grammy Oblong. Grammy Oblong was Bob's mother, who has been living in a vegetative state for 12 years and doesn't speak, hence the lack of me mentioning a voice actor. Although somehow she still manages to gurgle and moan from time to time, she's in a wheelchair and communicates with a green and red light for simple yes and no that are attached to her waist. The third light was a flashing red light that let the Oblongs know that Grammy needed her diaper changed. Eventually, there was a third yellow light added, but in my research, I found that there doesn't seem to be an actual explanation as to what it meant. Grammy wears a green dress with pink slippers and has wild-looking gray hair. We can't move on without talking about a few other characters. Although probably considered family, we can't continue without mentioning Lucky, the one-lunged family cat that is a chain smoker with a deadpan, almost comical expression on its face. Although the show does focus on the Oblong family, a lot of the episodes focus on Milo's misadventures and what those misadventures would be without a group of friends to help with the crazy schemes. Milo and his band of misfit friends are referred to as the Clubhouse Kids, and that group consists of course, Milo and Helga Fugly. Helga was voiced by Leah Del Ria. I am sorry if I butchered that name. That was hard to say. Those of you at home, try it 5 times fast. Helga resembles a toad and is very overweight. This is due to her eating just about anything. While generally sweet, Helga lives in her own reality where she is pretty, popular, and a member of the Debbies. She also thinks she's popular and beautiful. Helga has red hair braided into pigtails, a pink dress, pink flats, and stubby feet. Helga's parents are only seen in one episode of the show when they come back from a vacation after being lost and cannibalizing themselves for a year. As mentioned previously, this series was based on Creepy Susie. so of course there had to be a creepy Susie character. Susie, voiced by Jeannie Elias, is a melancholic goth girl with bleach white skin, short black hair, and a black bow. Her family consists of her mother, father, brother Lawrence, and her pet dustball, Jeff. Although a majority of that is not actually seen in the show. Susie has a heavy French accent, a lazy eye, and she is usually seen wearing a long black dress with a white collar that covers her feet. She does seem to float above the ground when she walks due to a contamination in the valley. Next up, we have Peggy Weggy. I'm not making this stuff up. Peggy was voiced by Becky Thayer, who is a very positive character that is happy to be alive and can't wait for the future. Peggy's head only shows her eyes in kind of a gumdrop shape. Since Peggy had buck teeth and no visible lower jaw, she spits when she talks and is sometimes hard to understand. She has a brown ponytail attached to her bald head and wears a yellow shirt with an orange hoop skirt, white and yellow socks, black Mary Jane shoes, and has some rather unique physical attributes.
No one ever wants the super boob.
Peggy is the daughter of Tab and Scooter, a same-sex couple that adopted her after she was abandoned as a child, likely due to her deformities. She dreams of becoming the president and marrying a handsome speech therapist. The last of the Clubhouse kids is Mikey Butts. Mikey was also voiced by Jeannie Elias. He's a 10-year-old boy, and his family is a mother and grandmother, and like other residents of the valley, he has his own deformities. You see, Mikey has a large, doubled bottom that dangles so low he can't wear normal underwear, and instead must wear his grandmother's old bra backwards, like suspenders. He has red hair with shaved sides and wears a purple t-shirt with brown pants, purple socks, and brown shoes. While Mikey is usually friendly and playful, he is shown to actually be really sad, and kind of a crybaby. This could be because he is often suffering severe mishaps in almost every appearance, such as being attacked by dogs and being stung by bees. Now that we've covered the people in the valley, let's go check on the people up in the hills. The most important person in the hills is George Clymer, voiced by the legendary Billy West. He is a manager at Globicide Poison Company and is the richest person in the hills and has a huge disdain for all the residents in the valley and even his own kids. George is a horribly condescending boss that consistently thwarts Bob's efforts to advance within the company. It is also heavily implied that he is a racist and anti-Semitic person, so just a horrible piece of a human being. George is fairly tall, with dirty blonde hair, and is usually seen wearing a brown suit with a yellow undershirt, a black tie, and black and white shoes. He's married to Pristine Clymer and is the father of Jared and Debbie Clymer. Speaking of which, next up, Pristine Clymer. Pristine was voiced by Becky Thayer. She's a very simple character without a lot of depth, as is common with these types. Pristine can be a bit of a drama queen that doesn't really care that much about her kids, because she's rich, beautiful, and snobby, and very rarely does she ever show any signs of actual humanity. Pristine's design shows her with short blonde hair wearing a white dress with heels and purple mascara. According to lore, before Pickles moved to the valley, Pristine was her friend and often would help Pickles when the situation called for it. There really isn't a whole lot to her, she's just a plain character that has zero depth. Moving on, we have come to Jared Clymer, voiced by Pamela Adlon. Jared has blonde hair that hangs down a little bit in front of his face and is seen wearing a black shirt, black pants, and gray shoes with a gold chain around his neck. Much like his parents, because these things can only be taught, Jared is rude, bossy, mean, has a short temper, and is constantly bullying the valley kids. George and Pristine have no problem with this, and George even encourages it from time to time.
Let's burn down his stupid clubhouse!
Jared,
Yes, Dad?
let me show you how to make a proper torch.
And finally, we've come to the last of the climbers, with Debbie Clymer. This particular Debbie was voiced by Becky Thayer in most of the episodes, with Pamela Adlon covering for the others. Debbie is the wealthiest, most popular girl in school and is the leader of the Debbies, which we will get into here in just a moment. Debbie looks like all the other Debbies, with a slightly darker pink skirt, pink shirt, pink high heels, and big blonde hair with a pink bow. Being from the hills, Debbie shares the disdain of her father for the Valley residents, and although she's been known to have a heart and help the clubhouse kids here and there, like her mother Pristine, Debbie's character doesn't have a lot of depth. And of course, the hill kids have friends too. For Jared, it would be his best friend Blaine, voiced by Billy West. Blaine is Jared's cohort in tormenting the clubhouse kids. He does whatever Jared tells him to do, even encouraging and cheering Jared on to be mean to Milo and the others. Blaine can be seen with black hair, the forward curl, a white shirt, white pants, white shoes, and a black belt. From the hill, he's also rude, rich, and a bully to everyone. Blaine and Jared are very close. It is even joked about that they're gay, but they always maintain they're just friends. Much like the clubhouse kids in the valley, there are the Debbies in the hill. The Debbies are voiced by Becky Thayer, mostly, with Pamela Adlon stepping in for other episodes. They're a group of identical girls that look exactly the same, and of course are all named Debbie. They are the daughters of the other wealthy Hill parents, but I couldn't find any info about the other Debbie's parents. This popular clique had 7 members originally, but went down to 5 after one was eaten by a bear and one was run over during the course of the show. When together, they are usually seen in a tight cluster. The Debbies all look alike, tall and thin with the required big blonde hair with a pink bow, pink shirt, pink skirt, and pink high heels. What's weirder about the Debbies, though, is that they all have different parents but look identical, and they say the Valley kids are weird. While the Debbies are nicer to their parents and friends, they, like the other hill residents, hate the Valley kids and are arrogant, rude, and mean to them. They're extra mean to Helga, though, as she is so desperate to become a Debbie she will do anything they say. And trust me when I say they love to humiliate this poor girl. With the exception of Beth, all of the children from the Valley and the hills attend Hill Valley High School, so the kids get plenty of time daily to bully the Valley kids. And that brings us to the end of the main residents of the Oblongs, and there are several other side characters that are not highlighted here. But again, if you want a video about them, let me know in the comments. Next, I have to talk a little bit about the company Globicide. It is a factory in the hills that makes pesticides, defoliant, and baby formula. American capitalism much? And this company is the specific cause of the pollution in the valley, and it's managed by none other than George Clymer. Now let's get back to the show itself. The Oblongs was on the WB from April 1st, 2001 through May 20th, 2001. The WB canceled the Oblongs due to low ratings. However, there were 5 episodes that never aired. That was until Adult Swim obtained the rights. Because Adult Swim on Cartoon Network decided to give the show a try and ran it from August 25th, 2002 through October 20th, 2002. And while on Adult Swim, there were the episodes people had seen before, but they also aired the missing 5 episodes. However, the show didn't receive great reviews, so a second season was unfortunately never made. If there's a petition out there for this, somebody let me know. But for now, let's take a look at each of the 13 episodes. Episode 1, Misfit Love. Misfit Love was written by Jace Richdale. In this episode, Milo gets transferred to public school where he meets and falls in love with Yvette, a Debbie who turns out to be an alien. Episode number 2, Narcoleptic Scotty. Narcoleptic Scotty was written by Scott Buck. In this episode, Milo is being very hyperactive, and so Bob and Pickles let him help and keep an injured Scottish Terrier. The only problem is the dog seems to be a bad influence on Milo, so he has to give the dog up for adoption. This is where the twist comes in, because the dog is adopted by none other than George Clymer, who adopts Scotty for Debbie. Eventually, Milo discovers Debbie doesn't even want Scotty, and he sees that George takes him to the Globicide factory to run animal tests on him. By the time the Oblongs find out, it is too late. But they've already hatched a scheme and rescue him from Globicide. But due to the tests, Scotty was now a narcoleptic. Episode 3, Milo Interrupted, written by Ben Cole. In this episode, a hill kid throws a rock through the window of a house, so the mayor hires Mrs. Hubbard, a Bible-thumping gun nut, to scrutinize the valley for their dysfunctional families and juvenile delinquents, as the valley kids are blamed for all of these troubles. Episode 4, Bucketheads, written by Scott Black. In this episode, Milo is rocketed into popularity when Pickles makes him wear a bucket on his head during a rainstorm. An overconfident Milo tries on his own to retain popularity, but it just doesn't work out. This is actually one of the better episodes. Episode 5, Heroin Addict, written by Joey Soloway and Scott Buck. In this episode, Pickles wins a shopping spree from a cigarette company, but after winning, only manages to take a few steps toward the store before she completely passes out. That's because cigarettes make it very hard to run. So she decides to quit smoking and drinking, and to fill that free time, she ends up becoming a thrill seeker and scaring the absolute crap out of her daughter Beth. Episode 6, The Golden Child, written by Leonard Dick. In this episode, Bob is depressed after finding out that his suggestions for Globicide have gone straight into the furnace in order to heat the company. Meanwhile, Milo creates an energy drink called Manic, which attracts Globicide executives, and they name Milo the corporate messiah. Hijinks ensue. Episode 7, Flush Flush Sweet Helga, written by Jace Richdale. In this episode, Milo and the Clubhouse kids crash Debbie Clymer's birthday party, and Helga accidentally loses Debbie's new locket in the sewer. Trying to be heroic, Helga goes to retrieve the locket. However, she gets stuck in a pipe, and this only affects the valley at first. But after a failed rescue attempt by the hill residents, Helga actually gets stuck in a different pipe, but this one only affects the hill. The Oblongs are the only ones that have water, and so the hills take over their house until Helga comes out of the pipe. So the hill residents get more involved with trying to get Helga unstuck. And this next one is the last episode that aired on the WB network. Episode 8, Disfigured Debbie, written by Joey Soloway. In this episode, Debbie Clymer and Milo run for class president, which Milo loses, of course. When Debbie wins, the other Debbies come on stage to celebrate, which causes Debbie Clymer to fall into a wheat thresher that had been brought into the auditorium and becomes disfigured. Her parents send her to live with the Oblongs in a way that she may learn how to live life as a freak. Debbie doesn't even realize this is what happened at first, so she ends up hanging out with Milo and the Clubhouse kids and actually becoming their friend, since they don't see disfigurement as an issue. However, once she discovers this deformity, she decides to get surgery to return to her normal self, and she goes back with the Debbies, but is not as mean to the Clubhouse kids in the future as she was before her accident. Now let's move on to the 5 episodes that Adult Swim aired that were left off the WB. Episode 9, Pickles' Little Amazons, written by Ben Cole. In this episode, Pickles gets arrested for neglecting Beth and has to do community service. Her community service is that she has to be the den mother for the Little Amazons, which Beth is a member of. Pickles ends up loving her experience, but when her community service hours are up, she is no longer allowed to be with the Little Amazon troop. Episode 10, Get Off My Back, written by Eric Friedman. In this episode, Milo gets glued to Biff and Chip's back with Insanity glue. When Chip has a date, Biff trances out, so Chip can be alone on his date. While Biff is out, Chip and Milo wind up bonding and having a lot of fun together. When Biff awakens, he feels left out. Eventually, the boys decide to go swimming, and the pollution in the valley lake removes the glue and the boys end up separated. In the end, Biff and Chip end up talking about their issues and learn how to get along better. Next, episode 11, Please Be Genital, written by Leonard Dick. In this episode, Bob goes to his best friend's bachelor party and gets his genitals crushed by a stripper. He and Pickles are unable to be physical with each other for 2 weeks, which also causes Milo to lose sleep due to the lack of white noise. As a result, Pickles begins to question her marriage and life with Bob, as she can't figure out what holds them together if it's not physical stuff. In the end, she realizes they have the kids and their life together in addition to loving each other very much. Episode 12, My Name is Robbie, written by Joey Soloway. This episode features a story where Bob has injured his jaw and as a result is given a robotic body with arms and legs. This quickly goes to his head as Bob goes on an ego trip and quits his job at Globicide to become a lifeguard, where he is referred to as Robbie. Everything is going good for Bob until he has to save someone. You see, it turns out it's very hard to swim in a robot body as it's made of metal, and the water makes it become inoperable, causing Bob to go back to being just a torso. Pickles and the rest of the Oblongs are glad to have their old dad back, and that's not the last this episode sees of that mechanical suit. Episode 13, the final episode, Father of the Bride, written by Eric Friedman. This episode revolves around Biff and Chip getting their driver's license and crashing Bob's car during a drag race that they entered to be cool. The boys and Milo manage to get out of the car as the car dangles over the edge of a huge cliff, and Jared and Blaine make sure the car tips and falls into the hole. So Biff and Chip and Milo pool all their money together to get a car at the auto auction. However, when they're cleaning out the car, they stumble across a large bag of money worth $80,000. As the episode progresses, we find out the car had been towed incorrectly, and it was actually a stash spot for the mayor's bribe money. The mayor buys the car back from the boys and tries to find his ill-gotten funds, which are no longer there. So all of the service workers, such as the garbage men, start harassing the Oblongs for the money. All of Valley residents attempt to raise the money, but only to collect some. The mayor takes the funds and leaves, ending the episode with Bob quipping, "I'd vote for him." Now surprisingly, this series actually got a DVD release. Matter of fact, on October 4th, 2005, it was called The Complete Twisted Series, which you can buy online via Amazon or eBay, and it usually retails for around $25 as of 2024. The Oblongs was a unique, quirky, fun, animated series that would do a lot better in today's world than when it first came out. Most people didn't get it back in 2001 and 2002. I personally would say this show was way ahead of its time. And with that, we've come to the end of another School of Boredom lesson. I've been your host, Bats, and I hope you had a good time today as we took a look at the weird, wacky world of the Oblongs in Lesson 212, The Oblongs. It came from Creepy Susie. Be sure to check back next time because you never know what we have in store. And as usual, think for yourselves. Be excellent to each other.
Oblongs, down in the valley where a chemical spill.
Hey, thanks for checking out our video. If you enjoyed this one and would like to see more of our weird, creepy, odd, eccentric, or strange content as soon as it comes out, please feel free to click like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more. We'll see you later. Keep it creepy.